Hi, everybody. This is BJ Stevens. It has been a while since I have done a video, and that's my bad. Should have done it, kept up with it, but things get busy. The whole purpose of this video is a rehearsal. I am a member of Toastmasters International, and I have a presentation coming up on this coming Monday. And I want to do a rehearsal. First of all, so that I can go back and watch this hangout and listen to myself. Watch what I do, how I do it, what I say, how it's said, and critique my own self. But I also would like to share it with my family and my friends and my business associates. So, with your permission, here we go. Tonight I'm going to take you back in time to a Christmas Eve in 1822. We're visiting the home of a very sick little girl who is suffering from tuberculosis. Now, this is not a sad story, but one of hope and love and tradition and wonderment and magic. Now, this little girl has but one wish on this Christmas Eve, and that is to be able to wake up on Christmas morning and to hear the story that her father will tell. It's a tradition in their family that father tells a story every Christmas morning before they go downstairs to check their Christmas stockings. Father, on the other hand, is worried on two fronts. One, because of his very sick little girl. He worries that this will be her last Christmas. So he wants the story that he tells on Christmas morning to be extra special. But the problem is his story vault is empty. He shared all the stories of his childhood. He has nothing new to share. So he's worried that he can't give her the one thing that she wants most. As he sits in his study at his desk and trying to find a story from thin air, it dawns on him that in the previous recent weeks, he was at the woodcutter's shop. And in the corner of the shop sat an elderly gentleman with scores of children at his feet. And he's sharing a story of a Danish elf that delivers presents on birthdays. So as father is sitting and thinking and the ideas are flooding in, he comes upon an idea. Why don't I create a poem instead of a story? And that's exactly what he decided to do. So taking pen to paper, he begins feverishly working throughout the night and putting the words into a poem. Now, as day breaks, he charges up the staircase and pulls up a chair beside his daughter's bedside and begins. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The daughter clapped and giggled and laughed and smiled, and for the next hour kept saying, "Again, Father, again, again." And of course, Father's heart was so full of joy because he was giving not only his daughter her one and only wish, but she was ecstatic over the gift. Now, here's where controversy comes in on this story, because some say it was a Christmas miracle. Others say it was because of the love of the poem, and others say it was just coincidence and happenstance. It doesn't matter the reason. The fact is that little girl outgrew her tuberculosis and grew up to be a stunningly beautiful woman and a much revered woman in her community. Now, following that Christmas in the next year of 1823, the family kept besotting Mr. Clement Moore, the author of the poem, to please publish the poem, because they felt not only were the words magical, but it was magic. And he absolutely refused and put his foot down and defiantly said, "No, my name's not going on that poem," for the reasons I'll explain here shortly. Throughout the year, there was much bickering back and forth within the family, not just immediate family, but aunts and uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews. Everybody wanted Mr. Moore to share the story, and he remained resolved. Wasn't going to happen. In the very beginning of December of 1823, a cousin named Bertha chose to somewhat defy Mr. Moore's wishes. She wrote the poem down and submitted it without authorship to the New York Sentinel in Troy, New York. Now, upon receiving the poem, everybody was so elated with the poem that even though they couldn't authenticate its authorship, they went ahead and published the poem. And as you can imagine, it received immediate success. And everybody wanted to know who wrote the poem. Now, all the family respected and honored Mr. Moore's wishes. So for the next 25 years, a tradition developed, at least with the New York Sentinel. They published that poem on Christmas Eve edition for the next 25 years. Now, the reason Mr. Moore did not want his name associated with that poem was because of pride. Because at the time, Mr. Moore was a world-renowned academic scholar at Columbia University. He taught Greek and Latin and ancient Hebrew, and he had written numerous articles and publications on those subjects. And that was his life's work. That's what he wanted to leave as a legacy, not for a poem that he wrote in private for a much beloved daughter whom he thought he may not see ever again. It is because of that poem that 200 years plus later, we associate Christmas. The image of St. Nicholas still survives today. The twinkling eyes, the nose like a cherry, and the belly that shook like a bowl full of jelly. Those are the images that still exist today and fill the wonderment and the spirit of Christmas. That right jolly old elf is still the image that clings. So I say, God bless Bertha, the cousin, who chose to somewhat defy Mr. Moore's wishes and give the world an amazing gift that has endured and developed traditions, not only for generations to come, but for generations to come in the future. So I will end this presentation the same way that Mr. Moore ended his poem. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Hope you enjoyed this. It was my pleasure. And there will be some edits, I'm sure. I have a limited time span, and I know I have gone over that time, but I just wanted to rehearse it, and I wanted to share it with you. So again, Merry Christmas, season's greetings, happy holidays to you and yours from my home to yours. Good night.